Train, my drink.
Good evening. I'm your host, Chan Kruma, and this is the second season of the Front Line Blacc News, episode 6. And I'm your host, Chan Kruma, and I am joined with my other host, Lady Chase. She'll be joining us shortly. And our guest tonight is Chris Shimada from representing for the state in the hometown, Denver. And tonight we will be discussing several things. The first thing is Tangibles 2022. The next thing is the BK bombing and shooting. African man killed by OnlyFans model. Blacc Attorney General in Minnesota refuses to charge officers in the murder of Amir Locke. Ed Bucc goes to prison. Michigan man kills African immigrant. I hear myself in the background.
What's that?
I hear myself in the background.
All right, let me put it on mute.
Okay. California reparations update, unhoused neighbor news, and unhoused neighbor sweeps. So I'll get us started. This is the year and a decade of tangibles. We're demanding something tangible for our vote. The days are over of us just giving our vote away. If you want our vote, you're going to have to do something tangible. And when I say we, I'm talking about the foundational Black Americans, the American descendants of slavery, the people that built this country, and those that have lineage with such. And we are demanding something for our vote. So Democrats, Republicans, whoever is seeking our vote, you have to do something tangible for us. So as I stated on the previous show, I am running for mayor of Denver 2023, Paris for mayor, and I am going to provide tangibles for my constituents, especially my Black ones. But we'll get into that later. The first thing we wanted to discuss was the tangibles 2022. So in 2020, the brother named Tariq Nasheed out of LA, Los Angeles, California, came up with the hashtag tangibles 2020. And we're going to go over that real quick for our viewers who are new to the program and don't know what Tangibles 2022 is all about. Okay. Can you see that, Josh?
Yeah, I got you.
So, so this came out in 2020, Tangibles 2020. And it reads, the 2020 presidential elections are coming up. So we're going to change presidential elections to the midterms are coming up because now we're in the midterms. And so that's our main focus right now in 2022. Are coming up, and foundational Black Americans are going to reject the 50-year-old malign neglect policy that has been implemented by the political system. This malign neglect policy mandates that Black Americans should be ignored and only mentioned in vague and non-specific terms, lumping foundational Black Americans into groups with minorities, immigrants, people of color, has only hindered the progress of Black Americans as a group while providing tangible benefits for other groups. In this midterm cycle, Black Americans are going to insist that our needs are specifically met by politicians who are seeking our vote. Foundational Black Americans want tangible benefits. Specifically for us, we do not want trickle down secondary benefits that are provided for every group. Every group has not been systematically marginalized and disenfranchised in every area of society as foundational Black Americans. So we refuse to be lumped into groups who often assist in the exploitation and disenfranchisement of Black Americans. So politicians must offer tangibles, specifically the foundational Black Americans, or we simply will not vote for them. Be sure to spread this message far and wide on social media using the hashtag Tangibles2020. So, Black family, that's what we've been doing for the past 2 years. Is spreading that message far and wide on social media, mainly on Facebook and Blog Talk.
Mm-hmm.
And we have not let up on them tangibles. So this is going to be the year, the decade of tangibles as I began to sweat. It's going to be a marathon, not a sprint. And any of the political parties that are seeking our vote, they're going to need to do something tangible for us. I myself am unity. I am independent. So I don't belong to the two parties. I am an independent candidate running under the Unity Party. So, and I'm still going to offer tangibles, specifically the foundation of Black Americans. So I would be your guide to vote for if you live in Denver, Colorado. Thoughts on Tangibles 2022.
Hi, family.
Lady Che is now joining us.
Did we lose everybody? Here we go. Where everybody?
What's up, sis? How you doing?
Black Power. Hi, brother.
What's up?
All right.
Hi, eyeball.
See, little eyeball. That's my thing.
Oh, no, you good. You know what I'm saying? Always looking beautiful next to your king. You know what I'm saying? The king and the queen, Che on here. I'm sorry, Che. You know what I'm saying? My tongue got twisted.
So we're good partners. Thank you, though. I appreciate it.
Yeah, y'all make the dynamic thing, and we're going to make sure we get this election thing going good.
So what are your thoughts on Tangibles 2020, 2022?
Yeah.
Well, you know, man, what's due is due, you know. But now that we're here, and now that you're sitting here and you're in office, you know, well, see, I'm speaking a little too ahead of time. You know what I'm saying? You're already in office, but running for office, but just we have to sit up there and learn right now how to get together and actually like get the things that you know that it's not going to happen anyways, because they're not going to really just like give it. And when I say that we take it, you know what I'm saying, we have to know how to do it intellectually that they can't do. You know, we all are good brain people, you know, to know how to sit up there and do things the right way. So we're going to do this the right way. We're going to do it. Like I said, you know, there's a lot of brothers out there and sisters, you know what I'm saying, that actually is campaigning for you, brother. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to actually get, you know what I'm saying, as far as reparations goes and stuff like that. But, you know, it's going to be a long time coming for that to happen. But it's going to be a quick thing as long as we all work together.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thoughts, Lady Che?
Well, I always say hold your vote like you hold your swilla. It's a crucial time nowadays, Black family. The thing is that, you know, we can't let up. We're close, but we're not that close, and no little milestone is a victory. We should just keep it pushing to what the goal is, and that's cut the check. I appreciate the new Black media, as always, for keeping it in a realistic perspective. Here in Denver, as we know that we live in a extremely racist, coon-like state, and they're not letting up. You know, they're not letting up. They're very, you know, it's sad to say that the condition is very comfortable, and they're no matter what happens, exploring fucking a new line of thought like freedom, liberation, and being in charge of your own nation is like too much to handle sometimes, I guess, for them. So they can stay inside and be comfortable. I said like the other day, you don't get to reap the rewards of the Black grassroots if things are progressively go the way we want it to go. When you stand in the line, you stand in the way of Black progress. Um, you contribute to the benign neglect, the habitual benign neglect of our people, and you contribute to white supremacy. You don't get to reap the rewards of the efforts of the Black grassroots. Period. And if they did the work for you, you still don't get to reap the rewards because you didn't want to contribute, you didn't want to put in the work, you didn't want to align, you didn't want to see the reason, and instead you mocked, laughed, and stood in the way. You don't get to reap the rewards of the efforts of those that have really placed themselves in the line of fire for everything so that you could have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tangible, you know, they're making it, people making it to a point where, they want to see something on paper. They'll ask that of the Black grassroots, but they won't ask it of anybody else. And it's all right. He's ready.
We got it on
and we're
paper,
ready. We're ready.
and the website is being worked on
We're ready.
right now.
And I say it's a collective of the small little village and the support system that he has. So that's what I mean in jest. So, bring it. It's only going to get worse. The fire is ready, hot, and he knew what he was getting into no matter how much anybody tried to say, don't do it. You know what I mean? He was prepared. He warned us all. And we just got to ride with him. Stick it out.
Period.
Support. That's all. Tangibles.
We lost a viewer.
It'll be all right. They'll come right back.
Okay, so the next thing is on Tuesday, a Black gunman decided to shoot up the subway in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So the brother has been identified.
I really didn't know what was going on in this story, except that our friend put a whole disclaimer up. Talk about you decided to go crazy. You'll mention listening to his broadcast. He don't know you. Unsubscribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this article I'm going to read from the New Yorker says the grim journey of the accused Brooklyn subway shooter. Frank James, the man charged with carrying out the Sunset Park attack, appears to have inhabited a world of conspiracy theories, grievance, and mental illness.
Already. So early in the article.
So this is a picture of James being arrested on Wednesday after investigators recovered a gun, a credit card, and keys to a U-Haul van at the scene of the shooting. 29 hours into citywide search for the man who shot 10 people on an express train in Brooklyn on Tuesday morning, the NYPD Crime Stoppers hotline received a tip called in from a McDonald's in the East Village.
Damn it.
The tipster was the suspect himself. Frank.
Everybody got an Eastville, huh?
Uh-huh. Well, the original one is in New York.
What? He called on himself?
Yeah, the tipster was the suspect himself,
Hell no.
Frank Robert James, who then ambled off. Photos of James is the 62, who is 62, has been circulated widely. They showed a heavy-set Black man with a shaved or bald head, dark circles behind his eyes at around 1:40 p.m. on Wednesday. NYPD police officers or patrol officers from the 9th Precinct found James at the corner of St. Mark's Place and 1st Avenue and put him in handcuffs. At a quickly assembled press conference, Mayor Eric Adams beamed in from Gracie Mansion, where he is in COVID-19 isolation, and said, "My fellow New Yorkers, we got him." Voluminous.
Only because he called in. Oh my God.
History of YouTube's videos dating back years has surfaced in relation to the case. A man fitting James' description called himself the prophet of truth and the prophet of doom. Appeared in many dozens of videotape monologues that he posted online. His diatribes included 9/11 conspiracies, the war in Ukraine, the Matrix, and dark forces that he believed would use atomic weapons to streamline, reshape, resize the world.
Mm-hmm.
The United States will be ruined, just like Egypt, Greece, and all the rest of that shit. He declared that humankind should be wiped the fuck out. In early March, he posted a 31-minute video titled, "And now I am become death," a quote attributed to Robert Oppenheimer and theoretical.
You should let me read it because I made it that exciting.
Theoretical psychiatric. No.
Where's that?
No.
Physicist?
No.
What is it? Yeah, physicist.
Yeah, physicists who expressed regret for his role in creating the atomic bomb. Some of the videos showed the man sitting in the driver's seat of a parked vehicle, sweatily after having visit a gym. It's still echoing Christian Mother. Other times, he appeared in a darkened room, wearing tinted glasses, and with the virtual desktop of his personal computer as the virtual backdrop. In one video, he strolls through the files, including a thumbnail photo of Anthony Farrell, who in 2020 shot and killed co-workers at the Molson Coors beverage company in Milwaukee before killing himself. Other files are slugged by Any Means Necessary, Malcolm X, and Motab FF. A photo of the new Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson with her husband, Patrick, who is white, is partly slugged white man. The YouTuber appears particularly preoccupied with Armageddon. Speaking to the camera, he says, "We have problems that have not even crossed our minds." At another point, he says, "Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow it's a fucking wrap." Folders on his computer are labeled New York Trip number 2, and New York Apartment. On August 8th, 2019, the Prophet's saying that it is the 60th birthday, posted the first video in a 6-part series titled Phase 1 of My New York Trip. It opens in the Milwaukee airport at 3:30 in the morning. In recent years, James lived and has lived in the Milwaukee area, and at one point in Racine County. In the video, the narrator claims both that he has missed his flight and that the airline has canceled it because of fucking weather. Cortland, he says that after having been sober since 2017, he is now intoxicated on a half pint of Jim Beam.
That's rough, man.
He is waiting for a flight that will route him through Philadelphia, where he says he lived in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
The video series continues in Newark, but the man's destination is an apartment building in Ritter Place in the Bronx, where he says he was born. He takes New Jersey Transit into the city, complaining public transit is just as raggedy now as I was when I was a baby. In Chinatown, he rents a hotel room.
Not necessarily lying yet.
That night, the man stands outside what he calls his first address in life in the Bronx Claremont neighborhood and points out the basement apartment where he says that his family once lived. He worries aloud about bumping into a fake cousin, that piece of shit, but otherwise sounds elated to be back in the motherfucking BX. Getting loud, he tries to wake up the apartment building's residents so that they can wish him a happy birthday.
Mm-hmm.
When he spots people walking toward him on the street, he jokes about being shot. I hope they aren't strapped. Video he created over the next 5 days feature his complaints about New York's archaic subways, service outages, and busted escalators. Par for the course for the city. The crowds bother him. Everything seems to. He yearns to visit Canal Street, but landmates that they done gentrified Canal Street. His monologues generally include a theme that Black Americans have never known freedom and that they have become too complacent. It is too late for change, he says. You can't turn a domestic dog into a wolf. He says that some Black Americans have gotten too comfortable, comparing them to dumb fucking farm animals, unaware that they are headed for slaughter. And there is no happy ending. A video posted last June, he predicts doom, but also rebirth. In a separate 10-minute diatribe called Death, he declares that if nothing ever died, nothing could live. The man appeared to blame Mayor Adams and others in the New York area for not helping him with his mental problems. The AP reported that James had been a patient at the mental health facility in New Jersey called Bridgeway Behavioral Health Services, and that he once said, "My goal at Bridgeway in 1997 was to get off Social Security and go back to fucking work." Bridgeway could not be reached for comment, but one of the folders visible in at least one video by the Prophet was slugged Bridgeway. In a video posted several weeks ago, the man showed photographs of people whom he said had let him down. Without naming them, he declares, "They made me worse. They fucking made me worse. Mm-hmm. They made me more dangerous than anybody could ever fucking imagine." YouTube removed James' Prophet channel around the time of his arrest. In one of the last videos I watched, the YouTuber advised his followers to make peace with the inevitability of either perishing in Armageddon or being taken into captivity in a FEMA camp or whatever they're going to take you, or wherever they're going to take you.
This doesn't sound like anything we've ever heard before.
Otherwise, they could decide to say, fuck it. You know, go on a building and jump the fuck off. Put a gun to your head and pull the trigger. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
How would you do it? On Wednesday, federal prosecutors in Brooklyn charged James with carrying out a terrorist attack on a mass transit system. Investigators were piecing together his moves. Video circulated showing James struggling to pass through a subway turnstile on Tuesday morning with a black backpack and black wheel case. He was dressed vocally in a neon safety jacket with reflective trim and a yellow hard hat, both of which looked new. He also wore a black face mask and black gloves.
Mm-hmm.
It is difficult to think of a worse scenario than what the passengers on the crowded N train then encountered as the northbound train pulled out of 59th Street Station. A man sitting in the rear corner of the second car calmly put on a gas mask and unleashed one smoke device, then another. The passenger sitting next to him reportedly asked, "What did you do?" To which he supposedly replied, "Oops." As the subway car filled with smoke, he opened fire with a Glock 9mm semi-automatic pistol. Passengers rushed away from him, but there was nowhere to go. When the train pulled into the next station, the 36th Street in Sunset Park, passengers streamed, coughing and bleeding, onto the platform. Some collapsed, dazed, and losing large amounts of blood. Others crossed over to an R train, which left the station carrying them to safety. James was believed to have been among them when the train next stopped at 25th Street. He allegedly slipped into a city of more than 8 million people. Investigators recovered a Glock, a credit card, and keys to the U-Haul van that they said James had rented in Philadelphia on Monday. The contents of the van suggested that he had slept in it. The authorities also found a hatchet, a container of gasoline, and fireworks. Hundreds of police detectives scrutinized footage of the city's thousands of surveillance cameras. All 472 of the Metropolitan Transit Authority stations contain security cameras, but none at the Sunset Park hub had been inoperable. What?
So,
Yeah.
hey, check this out. My Bluetooth is working, so I might get off for like 1 second and hop back on so I can connect.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, by Wednesday, investigators have found footage that they said showed James passing through subway stations at Kings Highway, not far from where the van was discovered, and in the park in Park Slope. Signal can be after 9. At Wednesday's press conference convened immediately after James' arrest, the New York City Police Commissioner Chance Sewell declared that given the intensity of the manhunt, there was nowhere left for him to run. The NYPD's chief of detectives, James Essig, revealed that in the 90s, James was arrested 9 times in New York and twice in New Jersey. The charges range from disorderly conduct and possession of burglary tools to a sex act. Investigators had learned that James brought recovered Glock in 2011 at a pawn shop near Columbus, Ohio. Rion Peace, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York, said that prosecutors would prove that he had traveled across a state line in order to commit the offense and transported materials across a state line in aid of the commission of an offense. James, hold on, I gotta bring Chris Ramada back in here. Welcome back.
Yeah, man, it's not working, but it's cool.
Okay. All right, I'm almost done with this article. Investigators brought up, yeah, I got that. Okay, I did that. State line commission in aid of the commission of an offense. James, who faces a possible life sentence, made his first appearance in court on Thursday. The judge ordered him held without bail. James' attorney asks that he receive psychiatric care. A striking aspect of the footage that has emerged since Tuesday involves bystanders' behavior during and after the shooting. Many responded as humans often do in dramatic situations. They tried to help. Many also responded as no one should ever do in an active shooter scenario. When presented with an escape route, they instead stopped to record videos. Oh, man. Decades worth of U.S. gun violence has proved the critical importance of immediately fleeing the danger zone if it is safe to do so. Yet Tuesday's footage shows people lingering at their own peril in order to capture images on their cell phones. The New York City Emergency Management Department offers explicit instructions regarding active shooter situations in a web slide titled, Who Should I Stay or Should I Go? Shooter, go if it is safe to leave. Explosion, go. Radiological, stay unless you are in immediate danger. Biological, go get away from immediate danger. Chemical, go get away from immediate danger. It seems like common sense, but okay. One widely circulated photo from the subway attack shows a man correctly holding pressure on a victim's abdominal wound, using the full weight of his body. In another photo, a man appears to address a victim's leg wound by applying some sort of improvised
tourniquet.
Oh, that's how that's spelled? Okay, tourniquet. Oh, okay, improvised tourniquet, got you. It is upsetting to imagine having to carry around an actual tourniquet, as combat soldiers, police officers, and medics do, just in case. But a person can bleed to death in as little as 5 minutes. And arguably, it can be empowering to carry the tourniquet and to know how to use it. As I reported in 2019, a program called Stop the Bleed provides quick, simple instructions on how ordinary people, when properly trained, can save lives. Intentional mass casualty events have become so widespread in America that they are now considered a public health crisis. The National Institutes of Health defined a mass casualty incident as one that overwhelms a hospital system. A mass shooting may be defined as one of which four or more people are killed or injured. Tuesday's attack was the latter. It renewed pressures by the MTA to provide contingency plans for disabled passengers and for others whose mobility is limited, and it reinvigorated debates about subway crimes and gun violence, both of which have worsened during the pandemic. In February, the city announced plans to deploy more uniformed officers in the subway, though it is hard to know whether increased police visibility would be deterred the kind of assault would have deterred the kind of assault that James allegedly carried out. Better mental health services may well have, though. The ongoing investigation could reveal gaps that, if addressed, might have prevented harm.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. Supreme Court is reviewing a case that may create even more gaps in public safety. New York has long had the nation's most restrictive gun laws, but the case challenges the city's long-standing ban on most civilians legally possessing firearms. The thought of even more guns circulating in such a densely populated area alarms Adams, the former career NYPD officer. He recently said, "This is frightening, what is about to play out on the stage of the Supreme Court. An overturned law would arguably make the kind of mass violence that happened on Tuesday even more likely." All right, so that's finally the end of the article. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I know that when he went on stage, they
Breaking up, bro. Damn, he breaking up bad.
Mm-hmm.
I can't hear you, bro. You're breaking up.
I'll carry on for a minute. Carry on till you come back. Put your headphones in or something. I'll carry on till you come back. Here's my thoughts. Look, man, he is asking for help, and he's not entirely wrong at all. Any of the shit he's talking about, at all. I mean, this is not unheard of. We are at war. Shit is getting crazy. He isn't entirely wrong. He did ask for help. Yeah, the subway system is shit. So there's a lot of things in New York. I don't think that I think that at some point, you just get fed up of watching the same shit happen over and over again, and the shit makes you snap. And there's conditions that people ask for help because they know that they could be, that the situation, the illness could get out of hand, and if they don't get the help, can they really be blamed? I mean, they've been asking. He clearly said he asked for help, and they clearly blew him off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of the shit he's talking about, I mean, that's everyday. Well, I'm gonna just not say that. That's everyday. Pretty much everybody who's codified, seeing the world really in their real, and how it's really happening in front of us, with the war, with AI technology, with people in our own communities. I mean, this is like normal feelings that he's just expressing out loud because he obviously has nowhere to put them. He asked for help. He got denied the help. You know what I mean? And so he took it upon himself to do whatever. Who knows what he was going through his mind? It's alleged, right? Yeah. I do think that, of course, he can't get no help. This is just like, oh boy, during boy. Christmas, my boy, man. Nobody's been talking about him at all that for like months. Okay, he's just radio silence.
Daryl Brooks,
right? But I'm saying that he asked for help repeatedly, and clearly was going through some serious things that he was not getting assistance with, and he clearly, obviously, knows that he has a condition. So, I mean, the lawyer is saying, yeah, can we get him some psychiatric help? Well, goddamn right. Now you have to help him, because evidently he wasn't going to get the help by asking or any other way. You know what I mean? And it probably, most likely, almost 100% probably would have been avoided. Really. Really. I mean, he clearly didn't want to be on Social Security. He wanted to go back to work. I mean, he wanted to be a normal man. Apparently, he wasn't being allowed to be a normal man. He wasn't allowed to go to work as a normal man. He wasn't allowed to get the help he needs as a normal man. You know what I mean? He was evidently crying out for assistance and just being shoved away, and like, you know, another case in point of benign neglect. You know, I'm laughing because shit, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. If you listen to the shit he was upset about, think about it. Is he really wrong? No, not at all. There's a lot of reasons to be angry in this city, in every fucking city. He's angry. He obviously was looking for attention, of help. Apparently, he couldn't get it, and must have snapped. And there's some conditions where you could be in this loop of like where you snapped for weeks and months at a time. And if you don't get the support you need, you'll get stuck there. And who knows what you would have done? Days blend into days, months into months. You know, and you're just living, and you ain't got nobody to talk to but your camera. Yeah, clearly, you know, this I don't know to say this more than likely could have been avoided if someone took the time to see what he was talking about, let him build up to get out of that and go back to work. He didn't want to be on Social Security. He didn't want to collect all that shit. It said in the article. Mm-hmm. You know, it said he went and he tried to get the help he needed. He was there, blah, blah, blah. I mean, think about it. Of course, the psychiatric place don't want to comment. They don't want to say they neglected him.
Shout out to our viewers.
Three little eyeballs, it looks like. You know what I mean? So he's not necessarily wrong about the things he's angry about. I mean, at least a good 8 of those things I'm angry about. And I'm curious about. And honestly, like, do we really know what's tomorrow, what tomorrow's given? Considering that one day we could be seriously at war, we could be invaded on or whatever. Yeah, what happens if there's an apocalypse? You know what I mean? And we're out there marauding and Highlandering.
All right, so Christian Myers going to be joining us by phone.
There's like a whole bunch of things that, you know, we talk about. I mean, they're in control of everything. White supremacy is in control of everything. So we don't really know. He's not necessarily wrong. If you look at it. And FEMA camps, man, where's Bucc? You know what I mean? He's been calling that for like years. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and he's not crazy at all. You know what I mean? We knew that shit when it just look at the shit happening on the borders. Look at everything turning into tent city like I called it. You see what I'm saying? He's not entirely wrong, Planet Family. He has very valid reasons to be angry as a black man and just angry and not getting the assistance he needed. And he probably fucking snapped and he didn't know when he snapped. And it led him to that.
I mean, so y'all still there, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So the thing about it, and I apologize to the viewers and anybody for my technical difficulties. And I apologize, Lady Trey, for interrupting on your speech.
No, I was just holding it down, man.
You know what I'm saying? But the thing about this brother, you know, like reading, you know, like
what Brother Che was saying and stuff like that, it's the fact that now we talking about a brother, you know what I'm saying? They had a bounty house for him for $50,000 for anybody to basically find him and get him. You know, because I got a family in New York and stuff like that. But you know how things go through the channels of what somebody say, because then like especially with the news and hearsay and stuff like that. But actually, when the brother Che was sitting up there saying about how he went through his little episodes, it almost sounded like Nat Turner. Because what I got out of the thing was he was saying about they're not trying to do this for me. They're not trying to do this for what is going on. And I think he was 62 years old, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Because he was an older man.
Yeah.
And the thing is he must have went through something. And like I've been saying, and I'm gonna continue to say, when that energy shifts, what is it gonna look like when all melanated people do what he did? Because I don't think he killed anybody, and that's just a warning. But what will happen when all people get like that? You know what I'm saying? Because it's like he's gonna go. Let me tell you right now. I'm not trying to cut you off, but when he gets into prison and he goes to Rikers Island or wherever they put him, which is probably Rikers, he's gonna be insanity. So they're gonna put him in the insanity ward. And the thing about it is because he's gonna say about voices. As us melanated people who has not been tired of the shit that goes on, people might read the article and say, oh, he was just crazy. He was just crazy. He was crazy. He don't know what he's talking about. He just was going on this. But, you hear something from our ancestors and going through the different rampant that our people have been through and seeing it and actually experiencing it. Who's not to say that the next person listening to this, we could be first on that next one to be going through that, So, I mean, there's always two sides to a story that goes on. Nobody really knows what was going on in his mind and what he was going through.
That's it. But I've been saying we've been stuffing our anger down for a long time. They're stuffing it down for that inner Nat Turner day. And he's not entirely wrong for the things he's saying that he was angry about. I mean, these are natural melanated things to be angry about.
How to say that again? I didn't hear you.
I said, I've been saying we have been stuffing our anger down. And the man is not angry. The man is not, I mean, he made perfectly good sense to me. You know what I mean? And I suffer
but
from
I'm saying, but you can't sit up there and be in his mind and know what he's doing. It's just like if you interviewed him, you don't know what triggered him. You know what I'm saying? Because there's always a time when you want to fucking kill and go at white people, even your own people. You see what I'm saying? Now think about months ago before this happened. How did you feel about different little situations that was going on?
Same way I feel.
You see what I'm saying? With people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because, you know what I'm saying, white people, listen, first of all, they're not white. They're pale. They're pink. They're pussy. You see what I'm saying? And like I told Brother Che, I fuck pussy. And I fuck them up. That's why they love the shit out of us. It's because of the simple fact is because they like getting beaten. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's not about them. It's about our own people who's getting ready to fall to be like them.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to sit up there, you know what I'm saying, because trust and believe, you know, man, like there's a lot of stuff going on that's going to make it. This is just the beginning.
Yeah.
This is just the beginning, you know.
Yeah.
There were shootings in Denver
Yeah.
at the senior living thing. You know what I'm saying? Who's to say why he did that? You know what I'm saying? Nobody knows the things, which is kind of messed up that somebody would actually do that. You know, but it's a fucked up situation, but it's also a fucked up situation how they've been treating us.
Yeah.
You know. And police ain't doing nothing. Government ain't doing nothing because all the government does is govern your mental.
Yeah.
So that means they take control of your mentals. They want to medicate you. They want to tell you you're crazy. They're going to tell you, y'all, you can't do this, you incompetent. You know what I'm saying? When they the incompetent motherfuckers because they stealing all our shit. As reparations and saying 40 acres in a mule when we can get 80, that's more than that. You see what I'm saying? Because they don't have the power to do it because it's the ones that they left behind, which is the same thing. They're ghosts, you know, and there's a lot of black folks that don't have a spirit. They lost it because they put it into some materialistic thing. So, you know, it's always two sides of the story. That's why they got a butt, and everybody got butts. Some is big, some is small, some ain't there, but at the end of the day, you got an ass. You know what I'm saying? You got an ass at the end of the day. You know, and I'm not knocking what you're saying, but I'm just saying I want to get on track with the show, but.
We said the same thing.
You know, brothers, you said, huh?
We saying the same thing. We're
saying the same thing.
You know what I'm saying?
Because it's, you know, man, it's people get tired of this shit.
Yeah.
Look on the east side right now. People spray painting shit. Fuck all you hunkies.
Yep.
Jenna fuck. And these is where white folks live.
Yep.
Yeah.
And by the way, I took pictures to show you, Brother Chad. I took pictures too. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Just to show y'all what's really going on.
I believe
and over there, the East Villages that's tore down now, that's the Benedict Place. Where the fountain still is. It's not the same over there, but they're not doing it over there. It's these white folks that sit up there that, I'm sorry, these are Seaweeds. That's what I'm going to really call them, Seaweeds. They're Seaweeds. Because when you read the Pale Fox and it talks about Yorugu, just like your Yorugu, means that they don't have a spirit, but they only have a soul. Because when they were born in the cave, they didn't have a spirit because the ones that was in there lost their spirit, and they was being born to people who didn't have a spirit too. And there's the Yorugu. That's why it's very important that we get Brother Che up into, you know what I'm saying, office.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because, man, these are Seaweeds, man. It's cool niggas too. Yeah. And it's going to always be like that. And until when people wake up and realize that truth is truth, you know, everybody going to listen to that. Look, the truth come out, the cities is going to burn. Yeah. And my uncle told me that, one of my uncles. You know what I'm saying? The truth is going to burn. But I had already knew that because it's getting ready to start, and it's already been starting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? White folks, Seaweeds is going to sit up there and burn their own government down. But the Spanish people is going to sit up there and take care of them because they're going to get mad and say, so all along we were melanated people. And you lied to us.
Yeah.
And all we're going to do is collect all the reparations that's going to come. And that's what taking is. You know, patience is a key. But patience is going to be a beautiful thing because when it do happen, it's going to be so beautiful. Everybody's going to have 5 big trees in front of their place.
So you're foreseeing that the Hispanic
but that's not a real word.
Are gonna make a more of a epic come up than black people? Is that what you foresee?
I'm saying Spanish people is going to do to white people what they did to our African women. And what they did to our African women was, just like in Mexico when they was hanging them, just like they was hanging us, they wanted to kill the melanated stuff. That's why we got to stop calling ourselves Black, because Black Negro means necro, which means dead. We are not dead Americans. We are actually melanated people that comes with the whole universe, has the whole universe around us. You know what I'm saying? And just like you, my sister, you know what I'm saying, got melanated in you. That's why the ancestors work with you. That's why you make your king. You see what I'm saying? Yes. And that's why you're a queen. And that's why y'all sit there and y'all vibe together and you help each other out. It's because it's a war. Just like you were saying about another coon person who's running. We ain't saying names, but that's the reason why that happens. You know, because people don't study themselves. And when they start studying themselves, they'll start learning more about life and where they need to be in life, because you're just only a part of an event.
Right.
And when you become a part of that event, you want to know what your story is in that event. And if you're a bitch ass person, then be a bitch ass person, but don't try to take millions of people with you. You know what I'm saying? Because the ones that's going to fall is going to fall with them anyways, which means they're not going to rise anyways, because they don't have the power. And they want to use money and all that and weapons, and that shit is not the power. Just like I said on Shabaka show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We have what it's going to take. And I'm not trying to take up too much time because I talk a lot.
Yes.
So, you know what I'm saying? I want to keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? I know Jesse was giving that look too. So, yeah, I mean, talk about the thing. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you know, I ain't trying to get up on there, but you know, you right what you say, you know what I'm saying, and all that. But the thing about it, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about doing now and moving forward and not looking back and turning to salt.
Can't do that. Cannot do that.
So I'm gonna move us on to our next topic. We got several topics tonight. The next topic is African man killed by Florida OnlyFans model. So this article is from WFLA out of Tampa. And it says, "You just killed your boyfriend. Florida OnlyFans model confronted at hotel bar after stabbing." You could place the video.
Yeah, that video was funny. Well, not funny, but that video was something else. That's what I meant to say. That video was something else.
Fair use YouTube for commentary and educational purposes.
The thing that you look for in the lawyer is to make sure that they have the experience to pursue the case. My name is Doug Bernetti, and I'm the founder of Bernetti PA. I like representing the underdog.
I'll videotape her. Right now, you should go. Yeah, you should go. Because you just killed your boyfriend. Yeah, you did. Yeah, and yeah. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Summer rain, you know them well.
So, she was confronted at the hotel bar after stabbing this African immigrant. So, a Florida OnlyFans model who reportedly stabbed her boyfriend to death during a domestic dispute at their Miami condo earlier this month was hounded by a group of people at a hotel bar days after the incident, according to TMZ. Miami police said Courtney Kinney, who appeared on the OnlyFans website under the name Courtney Taylor, was involved in a physical altercation with her boyfriend, 27-year-old Christian, on April 3rd. Abaseli was stabbed during the altercation and later taken to a hospital where he was pronounced deceased. Cheney
that's good.
was hospitalized under Florida's Baker Acts, according to WPLG. She has not been charged in connection with his death. The model was reportedly spotted at a hotel bar after the incident. A video circulating online appears to show her being confronted by a group of angry people at Miami's Grand Beach Hotel. You should go. You should go. Because you just killed your boyfriend. One person is heard saying.
She set him up.
Shit was crazy.
Cheney.
Was she a melanated person?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, well, shit. Yeah, kill her. Nah.
Cheney's lawyer, Frank Petito, told NBC his client acted in self-defense and he was confident no charges would be brought against her. The lawyer said the week before the stabbing, Cheney had kicked Abaseli out of her apartment because he allegedly abused her. Their relationship was clearly toxic and complicated, Petito said. But at a press conference Friday, Abaseli's family described him as caring and kind. There was no cause to believe that this was a case of self-defense, his cousin said. Toby was raised by a very strong family and strong morals and strong values. He does not come from that. My cousin Karen at Berna added, there's many unanswered questions and we want justice for our brother. Christian's brother, Jeffrey Abaseli, told reporters, according to NBC Miami. Wow.
Well, man.
Okay, thoughts on the OnlyFans. They're not going to charge this cockazoid
at all.
That's fucked up.
Thoughts?
So what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are this, like, that's fucked up, and she should suffer the same fucking penalties as anybody else who does that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And why does she get to not get charged and just out roaming around having drinks in somewhere and people are calling her out? Like, the hell is wrong with you? Like, you're not just because you kill them doesn't mean isn't there a grieving process? I mean, damn, like, she's out kicking it and shit. And that's okay. And nobody's supposed to be upset. Clearly, that lady was being was involved, and having to point that out, like, you're a killer. Get out of here. Like, what are you thinking? You know what I mean? You just killed this man, and it doesn't matter what you say. You killed him, and your privilege is allowing you to get away with it. Allowing you to, you know? And you look at the difference between them both, and she just looks like a problem.
Yeah.
She looks like a problem.
Thoughts, Christian Mother?
Fucked up.
Well, I said, man, she sounds fraud. And then she's not melanated, for one, right?
No.
So
they wouldn't
she's
let
sitting up there, and we did talk about this. That's the guy. Okay, I remember now. So you know what? You just can't fuck with, man. You can't fuck with these pale ass or pink, white,
Jesus.
Like they're
just get away with all kind of fucking madness.
Yeah, they're pale. They're Asilis. They don't know their culture. It's because
that lady knows she's
they don't know where they're going.
Their culture,
you know what I'm saying? And they trying to kill off all the black men because, like, rest power peace to Dick Gregory. Even the book he had called Nigger and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, he was saying how in Europe they was training the white women, which are basically Scorpions.
Or that
how to sit up there and
that day
basically take the black men away from the black women and stuff like that.
What kind of crazy fucking cockamamie story did she come up with that day? Like you don't even say why that day she shanked him. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Man, she's a fucking devil. You know what I'm saying? And that's how these devils work.
Anyway, thank you. Yeah, no. They didn't say why she did it that day. Like, what triggered that response? Because if she kicked him out, what the fuck did he do that day to get shanked so viciously?
Because she's a crazy white bitch.
Well,
and the thing about white bitches is the fact that, you know, and I'm not trying to cut you off, but the thing about it is they train white women to kill our race.
Yeah. Okay, with that being said, surely someone has got to ask those questions. We need
sisters like you to sit up there and confront them.
Like, no, honestly, like, I'm like, what triggered you that day? If you kicked him out the crib, what was the fucking trigger that led you to shank this motherfucker to death and then go out and have drinks? A week or so later,
fucking melanated. She's a fallen angel.
Yeah, I was like, but what did you say to not get any kind of fucking repercussion, like at all? Like, you didn't even say why you did it. This is like all kind of unanswered. She's white. She's on OnlyFans. Toodles. Peace out, bitch. PR. Hopefully you'll come back. Sorry about your bad luck, cuz. For reals? No. No, and no. She suffered the same amount of motherfucking injustice.
I'm going to make a mumbo jumbo gumbo soup.
That's not going to help.
And I'm going to put all them motherfuckers in there. And I'm going to eat them good.
Like Bali and shit.
You know, so they love
creeping
being
on other
up.
motherfuckers. She's like the Tinder fucking swindler. That's a female version, or like a white black widow just killing off, you know, foreign black men just at will because. I kicked him out. We had a complicated relationship. When is that an acceptable answer for us in court?
Well,
I beat my husband. We had a complicated relationship. Yeah, right. They wouldn't let us get away with a complicated relationship. Like right now, you said, like hypothetically. Okay, hypothetical. Let's pray that never happens. Hypothetical. I beat him or I do something, right? And they're gonna say, I was like, we had a complicated, combative relationship. Right. That's gonna be an acceptable answer in court. They're gonna look at me, look at him, look at me, look at him, and look like I have the problem. And he probably, you know what I mean? Under the jail. Simple as that. They're not gonna ride with we had a complicated, you know, he was abusive. I kicked him out 3 days later. I don't know how he wound up like this. What? What led to that if you kicked him out the crib? White woman? Right? All of a sudden you call her back so you can shake the shit out of him and kill him?
I say about that shit?
Stupid. And the court let it ride? The court just accepted it?
Because it's nothing that a white person can do.
Pull that discovery, man. What did the discovery say? Like, discovery said she was shaking over the body, or was she eating a cheeseburger, or was she just not there? She was at Starbucks. What the fuck, man? Like, for reals? Never with the man. They wouldn't let us do it. A crime of passion? That's a crime of passion. It's a personal crime of passion. You killed your lover. Yeah. And it was complicated. You were in a complicated, abusive relationship. Bitch, you're making more money. You're abusing him. You're trapping off on OnlyFans, cuz. You're abusing him. Poor thing. And you had the audacity to shank him?
Yeah.
I mean, non-FBA or non-FBA, but Jesus, she's making fucking hooker money.
And then go to the bar.
And she shanked him. She killed him after she kicked him out with no real answer except it was complicated and he was abusive. He don't look like he was abusive to her. She looked like she was punking him. Poor thing.
She probably was.
She probably was. Look at, man, I was looking at the pictures. I was like, oh, yeah, she's punking him. And then you got the audacity to stab him and take him away from his family. At least they loved him.
Right.
You ain't no good, bitch. And then you go get caught by some bystander, a sister at that. Not looking good for you.
Hey, well, it's good. I'm so glad I got that fire going. You know what I'm saying?
There's no justice, man. She'll
Well,
trigger out hook her money and beating on him or something.
It's not gonna be one in a people that's sitting up there that's trying to control a world that's not theirs.
Poor thing. I feel sorry.
I think I'm echoing.
Barnes is in the house.
Yeah.
Shout out to Outlaw Radio.
Yeah, finally he showed up. Worried about you, guy.
Okay, so no, he left, I think. So I'm gonna move us to our next topic, and that is Amir Locke. Rest in power. Who's killed?
Who's that?
Amir Locke, the brother that they ran up in his crib and killed him.
Yeah, poor thing. He was sleeping on the couch. I would have grabbed my pistol too if a whole bunch of motherfuckers used the key and came in.
Oh, so he was black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amir Locke, yeah.
Yeah, but he was sleeping on the couch and they used the key to come in and they capped him because he reached for his. He's sleeping on his cousin's couch.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know who's going to come in there. Oh, shit, I don't like nobody walking in on me while I'm sleeping. Who knows what I was sleeping? You do weird shit when you're sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
When you sleep, he was under a blanket. Yeah, I'm going to reach under the couch and grab the heat too. If you just walk up in my crib 3 deep, with a key, you didn't even knock.
Yeah. Yeah, so this article from NPR News, which is based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, or St. Paul, says, because this shooting happened in St. Paul. Amir Locke killing. Prosecutors won't file charges against the Minneapolis cop.
Hell no. Nah. Tear that city up.
So, yeah, the protests have begun.
I don't mean that. I was just kidding.
And here's a picture of...
Can't cite no riots or nothing. I mean, Jesus, where's the justice?
A woman pinning a fabric sign featuring the face of Amir Locke on the jacket of another protester outside the Hempton County Justice Government Center on April 6, 2022, after officials announced that they would not bring charges against Minneapolis cop Mark Hanman over the February killing of Amir Locke. Well, I guess we can listen.
Minneapolis, man, is never going to heal, dude.
Support comes from By the Yard maintenance-free outdoor furniture. Minnesota made and handcrafted out of recycled plastic. Dining sets, Adirondack chairs, fire pits, and more you can enjoy all year. Visit one of their retail stores or buytheyard.net.
Support comes from By the Yard Outdoor Furniture, Minnesota made and handcrafted out of recycled plastic. Dining sets,
and please put it in the chat. Max Page from County Attorney Freeman's office.
The charges cannot be brought in this case. We will talk about that in response to your questions. Keith?
Can't talk about it, dude. Mad and fucked up.
I want to thank you as well, Hennepin County Attorney Freeman. I want to thank your office. I'd like to thank the BCA, and I'd like to thank my colleagues. And this is the kind of work that we have to do. But I want to just know a few things. Amir Locke's life mattered. At 22 years old, he was only starting out. He had a job. He was making ends meet. He dreamed of being an entrepreneur. He was interested in real estate and branding his own business. He was about to move to Dallas to start a music career as his father had before him here in Minnesota. Amir came from a loving family. His mother, Karen, and his father, Andre, and many other family members and friends who loved him dearly. He had family in the military and in law enforcement, and he admired members of law enforcement. According to news reports, Amir's parents counseled him about how to handle interactions with the police. Keep your hands visible. Don't make any sudden movements. One thing Amir was not a suspect. Our investigation found no evidence that he had any role in the homicide investigation that brought the police to his door at 6:48 on February 2nd. Amir was a victim. He never should have been called a suspect.
Right.
The role that County Attorney Freeman and I took on was to determine whether the current law permitted us to file criminal charges in Amir's death. And in so doing, we had to evaluate all the evidence to Minnesota's use of force statute, which is rooted on a 33-year-old Supreme Court precedent called Graham versus Connor. As we announced this morning, we have determined that under the precedent and the laws that we have, we cannot file criminal charges. Current law only allows us to evaluate the case from the perspective of a reasonable police officer. And that language is from the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and relevant cases and statutes. We're not allowed to evaluate the case from the perspective of the victim. With all the available evidence, we would not be able to prove in court that Officer Henneman's use of force was not authorized under the law beyond a reasonable doubt. It would be unethical for us to file charges in a case in which we know that we will not be able to prevail because the law does not support the charges.
Wow.
Jesus,
And still,
evidence.
And yet, a loving, promising young man is dead. His death leaves us with a wound in our community, but that is small in comparison to the wound that his family is suffering from. Communities have been torn apart by the trauma yet again, and the life of a police officer has been changed forever as well. If the law does not allow us to file criminal charges in this case, what can we do as policymakers, prosecutors, society, community, to keep a death like Amir's from happening again? First, we need to interrogate whether no-knock warrants are ever really needed.
Right.
There are inherent risks for everyone involved, including civilians and officers. Cities like St. Paul and even some states have stopped using them, and it hasn't hurt public safety. Yesterday, Mayor Frey issued another no-knock policy, which appears stronger than the previous one. Now this policy needs to be actually enforced and obeyed. Then maybe Minneapolis can get the results like St. Paul, which hasn't used a no-knock warrant since 2016 with no harm to public safety. Second, Congress must pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. I don't mean someday, I mean now. We need state and local actions as well, including enacting the rest of the recommendations of the working group to deadly force encounters that Commissioner Harrington and I released more than 2 years ago with the inspiration and advice from County Attorney Freeman. Third, Minneapolis leaders need to talk about putting an end to in-custody deaths this way, but we need to get serious about doing it. The problems involving policing and communities of color in Minneapolis are long-standing and everyone knows it, yet it feels like nothing ever is done about it. Finally, as prosecutors, we need to continue to hold offenders accountable and uphold the law and uphold standards of justice. The fact is, as I've said before, we'll uphold the principle that no one is above the law and no one's beneath it either. And with that, I think we're prepared to, unless you want to make some more remarks. Amen. Thank you very much.
Nice words.
All right. Our first question comes from Omar Jimenez from CNN. Do you plan to speak with the Locke family at all? If so, what is your message to them after what they may see as a disappointing result here?
The Attorney General and I spoke with the Locke family at length this morning.
They are fine and decent people who are full of grief. And we expressed our personal sympathies and empathies with the family. They, like us, are very frustrated with no-knock warrants. They, like us, believe that if a no-knock warrant hadn't been used, Amir Locke might well be here today. Other than that, I think it'd be inappropriate to comment other than we had a long conversation, and I know they will continue the effort and the work that Keith has talked about, trying to make our society safer and to remedy some of the racial inequities that exist in our criminal justice system.
All right, our second question is from Lou Goose at Care 11. Thank you for providing additional detail in the frequently asked questions. My question for Mr. Freeman and Mr. Ellison, after reading these reports, would you agree that officers have pretty wide-ranging authority to kill during these kinds of warrants to an extent that a large segment of the population is uncomfortable with?
What kind of question is
Well,
that? I know the answer to that.
What we would say is that the area of no-knock warrants needs reform. I'm glad that the city of Minneapolis mayor issued a revised policy that is stricter than the last one. But I would agree that there's very broad discretionary latitude. I will say that it calls for reform, and I think it's appropriate for a community to engage to have a policy that's going to preserve life for everyone involved. I will add this. No-knock warrants aren't particularly safe for officers either. They have attendant risks on both sides, civilians and officers. So it's appropriate to investigate and to come up with policy that works.
Our next question is from Esme Murphy from WCCO. Can you address who the independent expert is and what access did he have to investigative files and other resources? And how often have you done something like this, hired an independent analyst?
Our independent expert was retired Captain Jack Ryan, a police expert in deadly force. He had access to all of the evidence we did, including the body-worn cameras, the statements by the police officers, the search warrant. He did a thorough, complete, and independent review of this. Jack Ryan has been involved in cases in Minnesota before. And at least several of those cases, he's been quite critical of the Minneapolis Police Department and actions of the police officers. But in this case, he agreed with the conclusions that Keith and I and our staffs arrived at independently, that the law and the facts did not support a prosecution of Officer Hanneman in this case.
All right, our next question is from Steve Karnowski from the AP. Did Amir Locke have a carry permit as his family has said?
That issue it wasn't relevant to our analysis. His family has said that, but because it didn't really matter, he was in a home, he was in lawful possession of the firearm. He was not a person who couldn't have a firearm. So, that issue, while I know it was raised in the press, ultimately doesn't impact the decision in this case.
Trying to blame it on him.
Yeah, they fucked everything.
Our next question is from Andy Mannix from the Star Tribune. Does the body footage for Hanneman support the claims that Locke was pointing at him? When will we see the rest of the footage?
To answer the latter part first, the body-worn camera video will all be up on the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension's website today, if it's not up already. The body-worn camera footage for Hanneman and the other officers show the gun that Amir Locke was holding at the time he was shot. It shows that Amir Locke was holding it by the butt of the gun in a shooting position, although his finger was not on the trigger. That gun was pointed directly at Officer Hanneman. During the body-worn camera, it seemed to dip down a bit and then come back up. And that's confirmed by both the officer statements and the body-worn camera, which you can see later today.
If I may add, the term pointing might imply a level of intentionality that we don't know whether Amir Locke had or not. We don't know what was on his mind. It could have been an inadvertent moment. We don't know if he was pointing it, but the video does indicate it was pointed in the direction of Officer Ham.
Good clarification. Our next question is from John Collins with NPR. Why not let jurors decide whether the evidence shows that the officer's actions were, quote, reasonable?
Now, as a prosecutor, you have an ethical responsibility to not bring.
All right, I'm gonna pause this and go to the video.
Yeah, Belly.
Our sympathies go out to his family and to the whole community. I also want to, right in the beginning, express my appreciation for the partnership with the Attorney General, himself and his staff. We have had very positive professional relationships in the successful prosecution of several police officers recently. That partnership is reflected in the decision we present today. Thank you, Keith, and your team. Yes, sir. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office, Minnesota Attorney General's Office, and an independent expert, each separately and independently, have arrived at the conclusion that charges cannot be brought in this case.
Yep.
We will talk about that in response to your believe that if a no-knock warrant hadn't been used, Amir Locke might well be here today. Other than that, I think it'd be inappropriate to comment other than we had a long conversation, and I know they will continue the effort and the work that Keith has talked about, trying to make our society safer and to remedy some of the racial inequities that exist in our criminal justice system. All right, our second question is from Lou Goose at Care 11. Thank you for providing additional detail in the frequently asked questions. My question for Mr. Freeman and Mr. Ellison, after reading these reports, would you agree that officers have pretty wide-ranging authority to kill during these kinds of warrants to an extent that a large segment of the population is uncomfortable?
I thought because they gave you a link to look at the additional footage. Oh, well, all right.
Not recall exactly which departments he may have been at. That, again, is on the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension website. His vitae is there. I just don't recall that.
Cool.
Our next question is from Scott at Minnesota News Network. Even though you acknowledge the law and facts don't support charges in this case, what is your message to Minneapolis community members, particularly those of color, who see this decision as another example of police getting away with murder?
You know how the city's going to get what?
I say, first of all, we understand how you feel. This is a heartbreaking situation. We have a situation here where a young man is dead. There's no evidence that he was ever a suspect or that he ever intentionally tried to harm the officer. And yet we have a very unsatisfactory situation here. But we have to abide what the legal standards are. The fact is that the struggle goes on. We can make reform in the area of criminal justice reform. We can make reform in the area of no-knock warrants, police procedure. We can continue. There's still a viable civil matter here. There are a number of things community can and should do to carry forward. And so this is not the time for people to feel like there's no hope. There is. People should carry forward and continue to try to make the system one we can all be proud of.
Oh my God, did he really just say that?
Yep.
All right. The next question is again from John Collins, as we haven't received any others from different news outlets. Does statute 609.066 need to be revised?
Statute 609.
That's a very complex question. We ask police officers if shots are fired to go towards the shots when the rest of us as civilians go away from it. Because we ask police officers to take steps to protect us, they have rights under statutes like 609.066 to use deadly force when they are confronted in a situation where a reasonable police officer who is not part of that situation at the time believes that there's a plausible threat and that a use of deadly force is required. That's based not only in the Minnesota statute, but the federal constitution and a whole series of federal case laws. What I think we can try to do that perhaps will accomplish some of the reforms that Keith and I are both talking about and want to occur is to make sure that officers are less often in situations in which they're confronted and they think they have to use deadly force, and to make sure that officers are thoroughly and completely trained to use deadly force as only the last resort. I think we have work to do in both of those areas.
You think?
Let's see.
The white guy is like
we have one more question. It looks like from Lou Regus at Care 11. Under the apparent circumstance of Amir Locke waking up with a gun and potentially believing this was a home invasion, what would have taken for charges to be appropriate in this case?
You know, I do appreciate Lou's question, and I understand why he's asking it. It simply is beyond the scope of our mission. It would require us to speculate, and I don't think that is the right thing to do at this time.
Because they can never put themselves in a place.
I think this is probably a good time to wrap up.
Let me just say in conclusion, I agree. It looks like we've answered the questions. I really support what Keith said in his opening. We've got lots of work to do in the criminal justice system to make it safer. And this death is a tragedy and was not necessary.
If it's not necessary, then why are you charging
rules only to charge cases in which there's sufficient admissible evidence to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, and we believe it's there. To charge a case like this would simply be wrong. And I really appreciate the courage and the commitment of the Attorney General and his staff and mine, buttressed by the opinion of Captain Ryan. This is not a fun part of our job. We try to make it as professional as we can, but our hearts still go out to the family, and we need to make a situation where these kinds of situations don't exist.
Yeah, if you want.
Thank you, Mike, and let me thank again the family. Meeting with the family today was something that is essential to do. They have the right to transparency. They have the right to understand why. I just want to say I can't think of a more dignified family under the circumstances that they're in, and I just hope the community continues to rally around them and continues to demand that we have a fairer, better system. So with that, I think that's probably it.
Thank you.
Everything, including him.
All right, so the article, that's the end of the video. So thoughts, Christian, because I'm not going to read this hard.
Yeah, that's why we watched the video.
Hello?
Did we lose him?
Yeah, so they was talking about, was that like an interview?
That was basically a press conference with the Attorney General and the DA.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's bullshit.
Sure indeed.
It's bullshit. I mean, there's not much to talk about that. I'm sorry, I'm echoing.
Nope. No apologies. I stand with what is that? Minneapolis, Minnesota. Is it Minnesota?
St. Paul.
St. Paul, yeah. Stand with St. Paul, man. You stand with St. Paul. Like, that's all I gotta say. That shit is fucking foul. Like, they didn't have no reason to do him like that. And they came in that dwelling with a key, and they bucked on him. I mean, what was he supposed to do? What was he supposed to do? You know what I mean? They wouldn't have heard he wasn't the person anyway. They would have thought he was resisting and getting loud, and it would have got even more dramatic than it already was. They know how they get down. They know exactly what they're doing. They know when they go in there that they have to use force, that they may have to use force, and it's a dangerous job for real. You know what you're signing up for. No excuse for that kind of madness. And well, like, man, St. Paul really they giving it to the city currently. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they took over the commissioner meeting this week.
Yeah, so we stand with them. Like, that was an unjust way to do that, man. And I mean, sounded like a good young man. Sounded like he had some aspirations of what he wanted to do with his life. And even if he did think, some of the teas weren't as bad, or maybe he could have learned a little something from it. Okay, still, that's even worse.
Mm-hmm.
That's even worse. You know what I mean? That he kind of co-signed on some of the police, things that he might have liked or dug about him. That's even worse. It's even worse. And so, yeah, there's no reason. I'm like, why? I don't understand, because I don't understand. And I'm just going to keep it very honest about that. I don't understand why, with all the evidence and the compelling evidence of all things, why couldn't they press charges on that man? Men, there's 3 of them. Right? There came in there, like 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Came in with a key. They were chopping it up on the stairs. Come on now, man. There's no reason for that. There's no reason for that. And then we want the system to get better.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You've been pushing that same fucking pacifying fucking rhetoric for decades. Rhetoric. How I say it, right? Rhetoric. You know what I mean?
They're trying to keep that lie up.
Yeah, here you go, black people, just eat this. Suck this up. This is the best we could do. Yeah. No, man. No.
So give them hell, St. Paul. Give them hell, Minneapolis.
We can't really say that. We just stand with you. Because that shit will end up coming back. But we heard it over here. And you was a dumbass for doing that. So, no. It's, we stand with you. We understand that situations get critical over there and outrage is necessary. We get it. We understand. You're not unfounded for your anger and your upset. You know what I mean?
Fight to get that damn statue changed.
Man, what is it gonna take, family? What is it gonna take? That's all I want to know. What is it gonna take? What is it gonna take? They're giving them hell, though. That's all that matters, I guess. Shit, that's how it happened with when George Floyd,
Yeah, and Elijah McClain.
Shit had to get critical, so they had to come to some sort of understanding, and yet they never learn. They never learn. This shit is fucking unreal.
All right, Black family. So I'm moving to our next topic. And this is a good topic. It should bring a lot of joy to those that's been paying close attention to this. So Ed Bucc finally is going to prison. Now, brother Tariq Nasheed and others of the new Black media have been exposing this Ed Bucc character for years now, and now he is finally going to prison. So this article from the Griot of all places.
Read it.
Lady Chase gonna read it.
Yeah, I read it. I'll read it because I read fast. One moment, please, family. Brother Che is in control of the lab. What? From the Griot, LA political donor Ed Bucc gets 30 years in prison for black fetish deaths.
Bucc was sentenced to 30 years.
Where? And he's sentenced to 30 years in prison. That's what I said. Yeah. Bucc was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison for injecting 2 men with lethal doses of methamphetamine as part of a fetish. Ed Bucc told his neighbors that steady stream of young Black men leaving his West Hollywood apartment were social work clients. What really happened behind closed doors, which he referred to as the gates of hell, was far more sinister. The men did not need Buck's help. They needed to be saved from him, said federal prosecutors in Los Angeles had said. Some barely escaped with their lives. 2 men didn't. Bucc, 67, a wealthy, gay, white donor to Democratic LGBTQ and animal rights causes, was sentenced Thursday in U.S. District Court to 30 years in federal prison for injecting 2 men with lethal doses of methamphetamine as part of a fetish that turned fatal. See the family? Or you're not even sharing it. Hold on a second. Hold on, family. This is just so you guys can feel the impact. Okay. Here we go. All right. See, old boy? Look at him. Crazy suit in blue. Turtle suit in blue. All right. Prosecutors who sought a life term said Bucc had disregard for life, that even after the 2 deaths in his apartment, he did not stop paying men to come to his home and injecting them with walloping doses of methamphetamine. 1 man overdosed twice in a course of a week. He looks like a trick. You gotta drug him. You gotta drug him. Who would do anything with that? This defendant preyed upon vulnerable victims, men who are drug dependent and often without homes. To feed an obsession that led to death and misery, United States Attorney Tracy L. Wilkinson said, Mr. Bucc continues to pose a clear danger to society. Okay. I had a joke right there. Bucc was convicted in July of distribution of methamphetamine, resulting in the death of Jamal Moore in 2017 and Timothy Dean in 2019. He was also convicted of 4 counts of meth distribution, 2 counts of enticing men to travel across state lines for prostitution, and a count of maintaining a drug den. Sounds like he had a party house. Bucc managed to avoid arrest for more than 2 years after Moore's death, and family and community members led by a political strategist, Jasmine Kennick, complained that he escaped prosecution because of wealth, political ties, and race. He donated more than $500,000 since 2000 to mainly Democratic causes. He would. Moore's mother, Letitia Nixon, joined Kennick and several other friends and family members of the deceased to ask judge for the maximum sentence. Nixon, a certified nurse assistant who said she had prayed and comforted countless dying people, broke down as they thought of the way, as she thought of the way her oldest child died. All I could think about is how my son died, naked on a mattress with no love around him. Nixon said, no one to hold his hand and tell him good things. Damn, that's terrible. Defense lawyer Mark Workson sought a 10-year term, half of the mandatory minimum of 20 years. Bucc faced and well below the 25 recommended by the probation department. He said Buck's sexual abuse as a child and health problems that led to his drug addiction were mitigating factors. I'm sure they were. He said prosecutors had cast Bucc as a sociopathic, syringe-wielding sexual predator, sexual deviant who preys on homeless, drug-addicted male prostitutes and killed them by recklessly overdosing them on methamphetamines. Well, if it looks like a duck. But there's a second Ed Bucc, a redeemable, a worthy, a valuable Ed Bucc who deserves his court's compassion and mercy. That's because he got money and he donates to the Democrats. Bucc, and he's white. Bucc made his first public remarks since the arrest in September 2019, apologizing for my part in the tragic deaths of Moore and Dean, whom he said were friends he loved, in a husky voice. He said he had not caused their death by express condolences to their families, something they said he never did after their deaths. Oh my God. His political activism began with efforts in 1987 to recall Republican Arizona Governor Evan McCann, who was ultimately convicted in an impeachment trial and kicked out of office. Bucc said he started an AIDS information organization in 1980. You would. Marched for gay and human rights and championed a ban on fur sales in West Hollywood. Look at the good I've done and the good I may still do, and not the horrible caricature that the government painted me as a meth-fueled axe killer. Buck said, that's not who I am. Not today. Not today, guy, but he was. Judge Christina Snyder said the case was one of the most difficult and tragic ones she had presided over. She said Buck's horrific crimes were reprehensible. God, man, I have an accent. Reprehensible and more than just an accident. Assistant U.S. Attorney Chelsea Norrell objected to the 30-year sentence, arguing that the mandatory minimum sentence for each death added up to 40 years. He is effectively getting one kill for 50% off. Damn right.
Yeah.
Tell him. What the fuck is that? This is not kill one and get one half off.
Right.
It's fucking flake. Oh my God.
Well, I guess
terrible shit right there.
On that, right?
Hold on a sec. Family members of Dean and Moore said they were disappointed he didn't get a life sentence, but were happy Buck was going away for a long time. They said his apology had come too late to seem sincere. Goddamn right it wasn't.
Right.
That's not love when you kill someone, said Dean's sister,
Right.
Janelle Campbell. That was just something he was saying to get some sympathy from the judge, but I don't believe and buy any of it. Yeah, God. Even after Dean's death, Buck remained undeterred. Norrell said, holed up in a hotel to avoid the police. He injected Dane Brown with back-to-back slams of methamphetamine. Brown was homeless, later moved into Buck's apartment, where he was injected with meth most days and often several times a day. He had a heavy habit. On September 4th, 2019, after Buck shot him up 3 times with back-to-back doses, Brown was hospitalized for overdosing. He had 5 times the meth in his system. You know what that is, because it wasn't working and he couldn't get it up. That Moore and Dean had when they died, prosecutors say. Brown returned less than a week later and Buck injected him 3 times with meth. Brown said he was overdosing again. He was exhausted and weak, but Buck wouldn't call an ambulance. I can't run. I can't move. It's all like all my energy was being sapped out. Brown recalled Thursday, man, in 2019, don't give me that. That's when he heard the voice of his late mother telling him to get up. Yeah, that's probably true. At the last moment, right when I was giving up and closed my eyes, I heard the voice, Brown said. It's like she lit a fire and told me to get out and get out now. Goddamn right. There's a white man over there with a syringe. Right. Brown managed to get himself to a nearby gas station and was taken to the hospital. It was that incident that finally led to Buck's arrest. Wow. If he hadn't made it out of Buck's apartment, Brown said, he would have died there like Moore and Dean. Well, family. That motherfucker's a predator.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
But he's white, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, clearly.
Well, that's what happened.
That motherfucker is tricking off and had a tap on the pipeline, and he obviously had some problems. He just had to juice brothers up, man.
There he is.
He looked like the type that would have to coerce motherfuckers into a hot shot, and he just wasn't satisfied with the immediate results they gave him. He one more. Let's try one more. Look, man, just can't do it like that, okay? God, man, that man's a predator, and he ain't gonna be alone and without the love and the strong grasp of a kind brother in prison. You know what I mean?
They gonna do him like Jeffrey Dahmer.
They gonna do him so lovingly. You know, he might have to
get hit in the
rethink
head
his
by a
head.
black person.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, they're gonna caress him till he can't be caressed no more. You know what I mean? With love.
That
everywhere
motherfucker going
in the
to
yard.
PC.
He better
not
go to
going
PC.
in general population.
It don't matter. He could just be going to chow. Some big young strapping brother's gonna look at him and be like, this little old wiry white man. So you like to get down with brothers, huh? Let's cuddle. It's comfy season in the bed.
Oh my God.
He's not gonna be without. Trust me. They're gonna love him so lovingly and tightly for the next couple of months. Because he won't be able to. They ain't gonna let that happen, dude. They'll be like, oh yeah, so you want to kill brothers with methamphetamines, huh? You know we don't do that shit. Oh, you like black? You know you let them fetishize over us. Oh.
Yeah, put your kids to bed right now.
Yeah.
But the phone is echoing.
Yeah, they'll be like, creep into my celly. You know, just come in here, bitch. Like, it's gonna be so loving. I mean, there's not gonna be there's a plethora of strong, strapping young black men in there that would just love to hold him tight at night. Get the shoulder shake, man. Shoulder shake. Oh well. One will never know what goes on behind the walls. That guy looked like he can handle it for a little while. He got the face for it. He got the face for it. He gonna be all right for a little bit. Just a little bit though.
Oh, God.
That motherfucker is a sexual deviant, man.
Yeah.
He was like basically how the article wrote, he was like preying on the unhoused, you know, with the possible, hey, you like drugs, you like meth, yeah, come on in. You know what I mean? And he was preying on him, man.
Yep.
And then what if I didn't get out? Shit. You didn't get out, cuz. If you didn't get out.
Get out.
She said, get out now. She should have said, get out now. There's a white man above you.
Get out the sunken place.
Right? Like, get out now. That white man has bad, ill intentions for you, son. Now. Beat his ass on the way out.
Right.
Don't forget to take something on the way out. You're going to need that. You know what I mean? Carry that TV. You'll be fine. No, dude, I'm serious. Like, for real shit. He was preying on him. He's preying on him, and he's preying on the disparities and their needs. And I got a comfortable West Hollywood pad. You could just come on in. No, he's a predator.
Yep.
Somebody gonna love him long time.
Yeah. Then they're gonna kill him.
Yeah, but yeah, like that's not what he said, but yeah, they might just love the passion all out of him.
They're gonna kill him like they did Jeffrey Dahmer.
I don't know if I would have said those words, maybe, but I would have said they would have loved him. You know,
they're gonna do him like Jeffrey Dahmer
till his Jesus come get him or something. That happens. So you could just be cared for too passionate. Cared for too passionately. You know what I mean? He's a predator. They gonna see that. Oh, them motherfuckers right now just salivating over that thought. Like, oh, that old weird ass white man coming through. Shit. Hey, Tyrone, we might go figure it out, cuz. Like, figure it out. It'll be a long night for that new guy. That guy, 30 years. 30 years. You'd be lucky if he sees a year.
Right.
You're sleeping with Jesus. For real.
Yeah, so finally he is behind bars. After years and years of getting away with this shit.
Yeah. Like, how many motherfuckers did he do that to that they don't know about? Terrible. only his walls of his Hollywood home could talk. Probably has some old weird ass sex dungeon in there and shit.
Ugh. Here we go. So our next topic, unless Christian Mata has something to add.
No, I'm probably gonna have to play it short pretty soon.
Yeah, we got like 3 more topics. Go ahead, Lady Che.
What is it? Okay, yeah. All right. Patrick Loyoya, yeah, escaped violence in Congo for the safe haven of the U.S. Then police killed him. Oh, yeah, I could have told you that was going to be ended badly. All right. So we have a little audio. Are you sure? Yeah. Here's the video.
I see that I have no life. I see my heart be broken.
Yeah.
I'm asking for justice. I'm asking for justice. I'm asking for justice for Patrick.
What the lady's earrings say?
I'm asking justice for Patrick. Patrick was a quiet kid. Patrick didn't love to fight. He was not a brutal kid. And I was surprised to see that he was the officer that was really beating Patrick. Ever since when Patrick grew up, I never see Patrick fight. And I see this officer fighting with my son. My heart is broken. I see an officer being on top of my son and to shoot him on the back of his head. And my heart is broken.
Domain.com has do at its core. And doers don't stay down very long.
That's terrible. Sorry, family, my eye is leaking. It's broken. All right, go ahead. Skip that. Go back, baby, and blow it up. Here you go.
That was it, man.
No.
That's something else.
Okay, let me read. Okay, control. All right. Control. All right. Let's see. Okay. All right. When the Loyoya family arrived in the United States in 2014 after facing years of war and prosecution in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the refugees thought they had finally made it. They were living in Malawi. Yeah. When they won asylum to live in the U.S., part of growing numbers of refugees from Congo to Michigan. They told us that in America, there's peace, there's safety. They're not going to see killing anymore. That it was basically a safe haven. They made that up, guys. The Dorcas Loya said in Congolese during an interview with the Detroit Free Press. I feel like they put all those words together, family. Part of the U.S. Today network through a translator. But last week, her firstborn son, Patrick Loyoya, was fatally shot in the back of the head by a police officer after a struggle, an incident that has outraged civil rights activists and led to protests in Grand Rapids, Michigan. What we know, Patrick Loyoya killed after struggle with officer during Grand Rapids traffic stop. His death and others like it can rattle the sense of security of Black immigrants and refugees who come to the U.S. to escape violence, only to find themselves vulnerable to the same brutality and racism African Americans encounter from police, as well as additional spectators of federal immigration authorities, immigration advocates told USA Today. It's shocking to Black immigrants who have this version of the United States as the land of the free and the home of the brave, said Nana Giamaffi, executive director of the Black Alliance for Just Immigration. There's a notion that police here are going to be different. Oh, man.
Black.
After 4.6 million, or 1 in 10 Black people living in America, are immigrants, and the number is projected to double in 2016, according to January report from 2060. According to a January report from Pew Research Center, the Black immigrant population is racially and ethnically diverse, but in the last decade, Africans have become one of the fastest growing segments. Though refugee admissions and the diversity visa lottery program, according to the Migration Policy Institute. Thank you, Jesse. I can read. Although refugee admissions hit a record low in 2021, over the past 2 fiscal years, people from the Congo became the largest group of refugees to settle in Michigan, according to the data from the U.S. State Department. Grand Rapids is home to the largest Congolese refugee population in the state, thanks to employment opportunities as well as family and social connections like churches, said Chris Kavanaugh, director of Samaritas, New American Resettlement Program in West Michigan. Okay. Our community deserves answers. Michigan police released video of fatal shooting of Patrick after traffic stop in Grand Rapids. Samaritas helps refugees meet many of their immediate needs and offer a cultural orientation on what it means to live life in America, he said. And they didn't talk much about the racial implications of being Black in America until George Floyd murder sparked nationwide racial justice protests movement in 2020, which Kavanaugh said a number of Congolese refugees joined. In the wake of Loyola's death, Kavanaugh and Samaritas is hoping to support refugee communities by providing resources to help them access services in their native language, including during intersections with law enforcement. Certainly, the Congolese community is feeling some fear, kind of scared over what happened, and would say rightfully so, Kavanaugh said. Those maybe who have much less English skills are just more apprehensive about getting pulled over or how they're supposed to respond in certain situations. Okay. Dr. Pamela Grayson raises her fist as young King Solomon Grayson 6 peeks behind her sign during a Mothers Against Police Brutality candlelit vigil for Botham Jean at the Jack Evans Police Headquarters on Friday, September 7th, 2018 in Dallas, Shebon, what is that word? At the Humes, the Dallas Morning News, at the Humes. A history of violence from Amadou Diallo in 1999 to Botham Jean in 2018. Many Black immigrants and refugees are surprised when they encounter violence from both police and immigration officials, said Jamafi. We have to deal with the violence that police inflict on us because we're Black, Jamafi said. And then the additional violence that then often is inflicted on us by ICE is in this immigration enforcement system because of our migrant status. But Black migrants have been long subjected to the same racism and brutality that disproportionately affects Black Americans. Excuse me. I'm leaving and I'm just not coming back. Fed up with racism, Black Americans head overseas. Protests broke out several weeks in 1999 after Guinean immigrant Amadou Diallo was killed by 4 white police officers in New York City who said they thought his wallet was a gun. All 4 officers were acquitted of a second-degree murder charge. The same year, Patrick Dorismond, a 26-year-old Haitian American, was killed by police, sparking another wave of protests in New York. Just don't learn.
They took a plunger up that brother's behind, too, the first one.
In 2016, for real?
Yeah. This is saying the article, but they took a plunger.
But the police did that?
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? Okay, family, let's pull it together. 2016, prosecutors declined to charge a suburban San Diego police officer for fatally shooting 38-year-old Alfred Alongo, who arrived in the United States as a refugee from Uganda in 1991. Then Amber Geiger, a former Dallas police officer, was convicted of murder for the 2018 killings of Botham Jean, a native of the Caribbean island of St. Lucia. Double-barreled racism embedded in immigration laws, law enforcement. Black immigrants are also disproportionately detained and deported by immigration and custom enforcement, said Bill Ong-Hing, a law and migration studies professor at the University of San Francisco. Embedded in the immigration laws are these anti-Black aspects, beginning with the visa system, Hing said. They face this double-barreled racism when it comes to law enforcement. Although they are only 7% of non-citizen population, Black immigrants make up 20% of those deported on criminal grounds, according to 2018 report from the Black Alliance for Just Immigration. Even minor offenses can trigger deportation proceedings, which can make common interaction with police like traffic stops more tense. Black drivers in Michigan are more likely to be pulled over, searched and arrested by troopers, a study of 2020 traffic stops found. Opinion. Police should stop making minor traffic stops that too often turn into major tragedies. The way that Black migrants end up getting deported is through contact with the police, Jamafi said. There is an awareness that this can happen, and there is a lot of anxiety around any type of police contact. Hing, founder of the Immigrant Legal Research Center, said more immigration advocacy organizations began paying attention to the issue in the wake of Floyd's death. Personal experience of racism and high-profile cases like Loyola have also started to shift the way Black migrants view themselves. They may start seeing themselves as different from African Americans, but realize that the mainstream, including police, treat them like any other Black person, which is not good. Look at how it's worded. They may start seeing themselves as different from African Americans. Just pointing that out, family. Okay, just pointing out how they wrote that. Like a study, okay? Yeah. They wrote that out like an experiment. They may start seeing themselves as different from African Americans, but realize that the mainstream, including the police, treat them like any other Black person, which is not good. I'm just pointing out how they wrote that. Just saying.
That's it.
Okay, cool. Thoughts?
Well, you get your Negro a wake-up call. I mean, you said in the
Oh,
article,
man.
like, the immigrants see themselves as something else, so they come over here and they think they're going to be something else, and their Black skin allows them to be victimized. It's just a wake-up call. Like, you're Black, period. No matter where you're from, you're still Black, and you're going to be treated as such. So, Grand Rapids, we stand in support with you. I know that there's been protests going on out there, and there needs to be justice for this brother. He didn't have to die.
Is there any BLMs out there?
Yeah, I think there is.
What?
I'm sorry, the phone just echoing.
Yeah, I think there is in Grand Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
What does that got to do with anything, though?
He's just saying about the protests.
Oh, well, like if they're capitalizing on it, I don't see how. My thoughts are this: Black family, no matter where you come from, you know what it was when you know where it was when you're leaving, and you knew what it was when you got here. That it doesn't matter. You're Black, and it's subjected to whatever fucking atrocities that are handed out, regardless, man. And it doesn't matter where you're from. It happens in your own country. It happens here too. And it's just terrible that they can just cover it up and get away with it, no matter where you're from or what language you speak or what. You know what I mean? They just get away with it. They just get away with it. So I'm like avidly disgusted. They didn't have to kill him like that. They didn't have to shoot. Why they do it like that? Like, you know, there no tase, no nothing. It's just damn. Like, you know what I mean? So we understand that justice needs to be had. Sadly, as we just seen, you know, what hope do we really have this gonna go the way, you know, it's supposed to go? They never are held accountable, as it seems, and the ones that are held accountable, it's like selectively held accountable, and not the ones that actually deserve to fucking suffer the same consequences, or even with the actual system of justice when they do really foul ass murders like that. You know what I mean? That was a murder. They murdered that man.
State-sanctioned murder.
You know, you didn't have to shoot him like that. Yeah. So I don't know what kind of consoling words we can really give them, except let's not be shocked. Let's not be shocked. You knew what it was when you left your country, the dangers of just being black in your own country, and what for at least 30, 60 years, 70 years, you've witnessed police murdering black people here. We can't act like it's a new thing, although it is an atrocity, and they're not going to get away. They're obviously getting away with it. You know what I mean? Like everywhere we go, they're not getting held accountable, and that's what got to fucking change.
You got to end the qualified immunity. It has to go.
Yeah.
Nationwide.
I mean, there's been several look at for example, Ice Cube's his thing. He talks about his contract for Black America. He talks about that. You know, he talks about that. He talks about the no-knock warrant. I mean, there's been several discussions. At this point, I'm like, I don't really understand what all the dialogue's about at all anymore, because they're just lost on me. It doesn't make sense because it's senseless, and they have no real rationale. You know.
Well, they have a license to kill.
Right.
Police have a license to kill, and as long as there's qualified immunity, that license is still in full effect.
Right.
So yeah,
stand with you and getting justice.
Yes.
It's terrible.
In qualified immunity across the nation. Every state needs to end that nonsense. Our next topic is the California reparations update. Lady Chase gonna read it.
Let's get to it. So much going on with this little task force, and just I feel so man. All right, family. California Reparations Task Force explained. I'll be quick. Angelenos celebrate during the 33rd annual Martin Luther King Day Parade in Los Angeles, January 15, 2018. Thousands of people lined the streets of South Los Angeles for a Martin Luther King Day Parade that is among the nation's biggest celebration of the holiday. There you go. There you have it, picture. Okay, summary. A task force is helping state officials examine how African Americans have been harmed by slavery and systemic racism, and weighing that how the state should respond. What reparations should there be? When California's first in the nation's task force on reparations voted to restrict who would be eligible for reparations to African American descendants of enslaved people, it sparked much debate and many questions about what would happen next. The vote was contentious and emotional, and the task force was split 5-4. The majority took a strict interpretation of AB 3121, the bill that established the task force and gave special consideration to direct descendants of enslaved people. Other members argued that reparations should be open to all 2.6 million Black Californians who, through the years, likely have faced systemic racism, such as police brutality, redlining, Jesus, neighborhood disinvestment,
yes,
and school of housing segregation. Task force members, in preparation for a recommendation, hold on a sec. Okay. Okay. To the legislation are discussing how reparations might take shape, who the state should compensate, and what redress process might occur. The state's progress on this issue might inform reparations discussions elsewhere, as the U.S. House of Representatives is posed to vote on a federal measure, and similar programs in other cities and states that are under discussion are taking hold. Here are a few things to know about reparations, California's task force, and the state's history with slavery. What does this vote mean? The task force voted in March to approve a motion that defines an eligible person as an individual being an African American descent of a chattel enslaved person or the descendant of a free Black person living in the U.S. prior to the end of the 19th century. Pause. This means that Black people who migrated to the U.S. after the end of the 19th century would not be eligible. One more again. This means that Black people who migrated to the U.S. after the end of the 19th century would not be eligible. Pause. The specific of how Black people might prove their lineage has yet to be determined. Task force members heard testimony from genealogists who discussed various methods, including using census records, DNA, and ancestry tests. How many Black Californians would be eligible? Camila Moore, chairperson of the task force, said nearly 80% of California's 2.6 million Black residents would be eligible for reparation based on calculations by William Darity, an economist on the task force. Jesus, 80% of 2.6 million.
Economist.
Yeah. I gotta say it the way I say it. Yeah, I got a weird little accent. A small fraction of California's Black community would not be included, she said. According to 2014 data from the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, there are about 178,000 Black immigrants in California, hailing primarily from the Caribbean and the African continent, or 6.8% of the state's total Black population. Okay, let's see. Okay, I just want to make sure I read that right. What might reparations look like? A specific plan for reparations in California has yet to be determined, though experts have advocated for a number of options, everything from direct cash payments to land transfers to baby bonds to investments to Black-owned businesses. Advocates said a formal apology should be included, similar to the U.S. House of Representatives' formal apology to Black Americans for the institution of slavery in 2008. How can you apologize for something you continuously do? Darity has argued that federal reparations to Blacks could effectively close a racial wealth gap by boosting Black wealth to the level of the rest of the U.S. population. But he and other economists, I come from California, that was how we were going to say it. Yeah.
Just say economist.
Economists. So I said, economists. I'm from California. Speak differently. Estimate that would mean payments of $300,000 in the hands of every Black American. Whoa. Okay. Darity has argued that federal reparations to Blacks could effectively close a racial wealth gap by boosting Blacks' wealth to the level of the rest of the U.S. population. But he and other economists estimate that would mean payouts of $300,000 in the hands of every Black American. I don't think he liked that idea. Just the way they wrote it. Moore said California's budget isn't large enough to accommodate something like that. Instead, she said the task force might recommend the legislature establish a reparations tribunal, or what she calls a state-specific harms model. This way, she says, eligible Black Californians who are victims of police brutality or redlining, for example, could file claims and receive compensation for those particular harms through a tribunal. Man, they're just trying to keep that shit like locked up in court. Hold on a second. Okay. What comes next after the task force vote? The task force will continue to hold meetings, which are open to the public via live stream. It will meet next Wednesday and Thursday to hear from panelists on racism in education, hear from economic consultants about a state-specific reparations model could look like. In June, the group will present its first report, which will include primary recommendations for what reparations may look like and comprehensive study of the various forms of discrimination Black Americans face. Moore said the first report is underway at about 600 pages and 13 chapters. Whoa. Jeez. I don't know. Why so much paperwork? The final report will be released in July 2023. Goddamn. Moore said it will include specific information on the eligible communities. That's a whole fucking year. Formal recommendations about the form of reparations and a study of their compliance with international human rights law and standards. I don't understand what that has to do with anything. Okay, from there, the California legislation will review the recommendations for possible adoption. Oh my God. Like when we say it's not going to be a sprint, family, it's a marathon. As the task force still yet to determine what form of reparations will take, Moore said it's difficult to say if reparations, whether cash payments or other programs, will become a reality for Black Californians. How would they be funded? Moore said in the legislature approves recommendations for reparations, it will be tasked to finding a funding source. Come on now. Meet California, a free state. California adopted an anti-slavery constitution before it became a state in 1850, but it had a long history of tolerating slavery. Stacy Smith, a history professor at Oregon State University and consultant to the task force, estimated that during the gold rush, there were at least 600 enslaved Black people living in California based on the census report. Enslaved Black people were brought to California while the state was still part of Mexico between 1821 and 1848 and during the U.S.-Mexico War, so there was a precedent for tolerating slavery. Whoa, that's a whole changing thing right there, right? The state enacted a fugitive slave law in 1852, which deputized slave owners and state officials, allowing them to violently capture and arrest enslaved people. Head shake. Meanwhile, the state also passed a law that allowed only white people to testify in court cases involving white people, effectively barring freed and enslaved Black people, as well as Native Americans and immigrants, from any hope of due process. You owe for all of that. Among the task force's 9 members, 5 were chosen by Governor Gavin Newsom, 2 of Senate President pro tempore Tony Atkins, and 2 by Assembly Speaker Anthony Rendon. The California Department of Justice provides administrative, technical, and legal assistance to the task force. The department helps coordinate virtual meetings, drafts the task force reports, and contracts with experts on the history of slavery, systemic racism, and reparations. Who are some of the experts working with the task force? Currently, the DOJ, Department of Justice, has contracted with 6 experts, including Derek Hamilton, an economist, an economics and urban policy professor at the New School in New York City, who will help research and develop methods to disperse reparations. In addition to the department, has hired Marn Campbell, an African-American studies professor at Loyola Marymount University, Stacy Smith, a history professor at Oregon State University, William Darity, Kristen Mullins, economists, and authors of From Here to Equality, a book that has been described as a roadmap for reparations, and Dorothea Johnson, who is a task force parliamentarian. What about a federal program for reparations for Black Americans? Shortly after slavery was formally abolished in 1865, some freed Black people pushed for early forms of reparations, such as pensions for when they fell ill or for burial services in 1915. A group of formerly enslaved people filed a lawsuit arguing that the U.S. Treasury Department owed them $68 million for profits garnered from cotton sales. But that suit was denied. Time and again, various groups brought forth reparation proposals, lawsuits, and legislations. Okay. Excuse me, family. I'm just enthralled. Okay. John Conyers, a Democratic representative of Michigan, first introduced H.R. 40 to Congress in 1987, a bill to establish a commission to study and develop reparations proposal for African Americans. California's AB 3121 borrows language from H.R. 40, which would create a commission to study the role of federal and state governments in supporting slavery and any other forms of discrimination against free Black people, their descendants, and all African Americans. Conyers introduced the legislation at the start of every session of Congress until he stepped down in 2017. That year, Texas Representative Sheila Jackson Lee took over the bill. In April 2021, it was voted out of committee. Now that the bill appears to have Democratic support to pass the House, some observers say, but with a Republican majority in the Senate, it is a long way from becoming law. Of course it is. Has the United States ever paid reparations to another group?
Yes.
Have they? Got a list. In 1988, President Ronald Reagan signed the Civil Liberties Act, which included a formal apology and paid $20,000 to many of the more than 100,000 Japanese Americans who were incarcerated in an internment camp across the country during World War II. Decades before, in 1946, Congress created the Indians Claims Commission and rewarded $1.3 billion to 176 tribes and bands. That averages less than 1,000 per person of Native American ancestry, and most of it was held in trust and managed by the U.S. government, which was accused of mismanagement. In 1921, the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act created homesteads to compensate for the overthrow of the island kingdom. About 200,000 acres were placed in a land trust. People who could prove 50% Native Hawaiian ancestry could sign up to lease parcels for $1 for 99 years. Are you serious? What? Created homesteads to compensate for the overthrow of the island. Then placed in a land trust. People could prove 50% and could sign up and lease parcels of their own shit. Critics say much of the land is remote, with no water or utilities and far from roads and development. They also argue that 50% rural complicates intergenerational land leasing in interracial families. They always got a motherfucking loophole or some fucking issue to not give them what they actually had. They mean you rent your own land. Are you serious? For $1 for 99 years? After you prove the 50% rule? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Why are reparations discussions gaining momentum now? I guess we're not letting up. California's task force on reparations may be the first statewide program in the country, but other cities and counties have already begun the process of determining eligibility and the scope of similar reparations plan. In 2021, Evanston, Illinois, became the first city in the country to approve a form of reparations. 16 Black residents will receive $25,000 in home improvements, grants, and mortgage assistance. Most were able to show they were descendants of residents from 1919 to 1969, a period of historic redlining. Ashton, North Carolina, I think they gave up right there. Asheville, North Carolina voted in 2020 to provide reparations to Black residents to issue a formal apology. The city has committed $22.1 million, but that will not include direct cash payments. Instead, the city will boost funding for such things as housing, healthcare to address racial disparities. though the city council has yet to determine what exact event. Are you serious? You're supposed to do that. Oh my God, man. This is just fucking crap. This article is part of California Divide Project, collaborative among newsrooms examining income inequality and economic survival in California. Well, family, it's not supposed to be quick, and it's definitely going to be a marathon. In my personal opinion, I feel like anything they can do to not pay you anything or the least minimal just to pacify the fucking event is what they're doing, and that's what they've always done, and that's what we can't let them do. And fucking no and no and no, and that is fucking bad, all bad. Like, that's bad. You know what I mean? That's what they did to the man. So no, carry on with the fight. Carry on with the fight. That's all I can say.
Okay. Christian Muddy, you still with us?
Shake my head at that. Go ahead, baby.
Yeah, so we're gonna keep y'all updated on this. The task force met this week. I got to catch a little bit of the video, but they're having in-person hearings now. So a lot of people have been showing up to the church or the courthouse, wherever they have the hearings, and letting their voice be heard. So we give major shout out and salute to the FBA family that has been, and the Friedman family that has been stomping 10 toes down for reparations in the state of California. Christian Mata, are you still with us?
What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are I'm glad that they passed lineage-based reparations, and we're going to continue to follow what's happening in California, because what California does, the rest of the nation does.
Yeah.
So the last topics of the night are unhoused neighbor. Our last topics for tonight are unhoused neighbor news and unhoused neighbor sweeps. So I'm gonna start us off, and Lady Chase is gonna finish us off. The sweeps continue. The traumatic displacements continue. And Mayor Michael Hancoon is continuing to sweep people like trash in this last year of office. And enough is enough of this. We need solutions, and I am solution creator. So the election's in a year. Make sure you vote Paris for mayor, and we gotta repeal this urban camping ban, and we gotta get people a house. It's epidemic at this point. So, Lady Che, you have the floor.
That damn Mayor Hancock, man. Let's just put it this way. He's okay with putting people in jail, that's for sure. He got a lot of problems, and we're gonna start with all of it having to do with a lot of the unhoused neighbor situation with the Union Station, which is our transportation hub. So far, it's been over 700 people that he's arrested, or that he's had arrested for being unhoused with either minor drug stuff or you can't make me believe that somebody's just carrying major weight over there at all. At all. Okay. So you can't even force that lie on me because I know better. So we'll say this though. The people that come to city council, like the police and everything, talking about housing and options and et cetera, they really have no answers. And the jail never has answers for what they've done with the people that they arrested over 3 months. Make that make sense. Because we definitely want to know where they all at. Where is everybody? I feel like during this week, somehow, I feel like there was a possible bamboozle on a sweep. I say that to say this, is that there's an area, that I know that takes a long time to sweep, actually, usually most of the mid-morning. And I went there. I kind of got lost at first, but not lost enough to not see the signs of an actual sweep or people. So I feel like there's some miscommunication, intentional miscommunication. I also feel like, you know, when we reach out to certain providers, then it's like, man, we got to check these notifications. We got to be on your helmet all day to know that y'all are holding secret motherfucking Zoom meetings that we should be a part of. So we could know, you know, so the people can know. And what's up with that? And, you know, we're going to show you a little bit of that. I'm just going to go ahead and pull this up for a second. Because pretty sure we were just as shocked that we didn't get to see this one particular Zoom meeting. Hold on a sec. Okay, let me pull this up real quick, family. A lot of shit is. Well, I asked the question last week. Did everybody take a sabbatical? Because no one was filming, right? And normally, all these cloud chasing service providers are usually more on the ball. And no one could be found. Like no one could be found. It's beyond like crazy to me. I just couldn't understand. You can't make me understand that lie because I'm outside all the time. Literally outside all the time. So we're going to look at one of our advocates, you know, Denver Homeless Out Loud. And they're talking about, you know, other places, you know, getting swept. So we're going to scroll down a little bit. They obviously updated their cover. Tight, I guess. Here's what I'm talking about. Regional convening on homelessness. A whole damn Zoom discussion. Second annual. Okay. April 5th, 8:57 p.m. Man, to tell you that how much I've been writing this webpage, looking for updates. What day was that? On the 5th?
Yeah.
What day was the 5th?
That was a Wednesday.
Right, on a Wednesday, right?
Tuesday.
Let's see. Yeah, it was a Tuesday. That's a sweep day at 8:50. You mean to tell me no? First of all, we couldn't find the sweep, right?
Mm-hmm.
And or whatever the issue was. But there's a whole sweep. Metro Denver Homeless Initiative was live. Are you serious? This is stuff I want to know about. We need to know about. And act like we didn't have the notifications up. I've been on this page, like literally trying to get it together with them, man. And I feel like it's intentional, it's on purpose. And what does it do? If anything, it doesn't really bother me. It hurts the people.
Right.
It hurts the people. You're hurting the people. They don't know, and all of a sudden, just the worst shit happens. You know, I'm gonna read this real quick. As it stands, it's not equitable policy for those in our city who have been the most exploited through our city's exclusionary housing policies and practices. Our experiences through this process is not the terms are set by developers. Needs to maintain their profit, not to actually shift the reality of developing housing in our city to house all people. Man, you could just go anywhere in the city. There is so much goddamn development, housing development. It is ridiculous how no one has a house or even one promised to them. Really, beyond ridiculous. So, you know, I've been looking at this. I'm like, this is just stupid. Like, if you don't want to do the work, let somebody who does want to do it. That's really what I want to say to them, because they don't want to work with people. Like, I don't understand. If you're not available, you're not available. You know what I mean? You're not there, you're not there. Where's the other one that I pulled up for the U.S. Union Station? Forgive us, family, it's late.
Lowering bonds, increasing crime on Denver streets.
We gotta copy it. So go in another thing. Let me see. I got it. Because we're gonna have to move it to this. Not gonna work that way, baby. There you go. That was easy.
Lowering bonds.
I think all of us for the same reason. All of us catch hell from the same enemy. We're all in the same bag, in the same boat. We suffer political oppression, economic exploitation.
Okay. Yeah, this the mayor the mayor in his nonsense.
Increasing crime on Denver streets.
We have a problem, and we've got to find a way to fix it.
Two of Denver's most powerful leaders.
Mr. McCann, you're going to just ignore me? There's no room to play games here. There's no room to play politics.
Two vastly different responses.
Troubling numbers uncovered by Denver 7 investigators reveal proof that accused serious drug offenders are walking out of court never to return.
It's ridiculous and it's dangerous to our community.
So anybody over here that you get a minor misdemeanor or minor drug offense and you qualify, they got to qualify you for a PR bond. It's not like they're just giving them away. Trust me, you got to qualify for it. They don't have a quota. You just got to qualify. You got to meet their standards. So if you meet the standards and you get a PR bond, you gotta, you met the standards. Good for you. Okay. Now, forget about that because they're gonna make it so.
Tonight, Denver 7 investigates digging into these mounting concerns and tracking down answers.
There's Chief Investigative Reporter Tony Kovaleski.
Thrown in jail like
these pictures tell a story. Bags filled with fentanyl, drug dealers arrested for dealing. This data also tells a story. It shows individuals accused of serious drug offenses like dealing fentanyl, sidestepping the law, avoiding accountability.
We have a problem, and we've got to find a way to fix it.
A problem so significant, Denver's mayor has made issues exposed in our investigation a priority at City Hall. That includes what our hidden cameras found at Union Station, rampant and undisguised drug use in the heart of the city.
We've got to start holding people accountable.
Over the past several months, we dug into court records for all of last year in Denver. The data shows that judges and magistrates gave personal recognizance, or PR bonds, to 69% of all serious drug offenders. That means the vast majority of dealers accused of peddling everything from fentanyl to heroin walking out of jail with nothing more than a promise to return to court. And that data also showed, not surprisingly, 45% did not return.
What did those numbers say to you?
We got to look at our PR bond situation. The reality is that we've got to fix the entire system.
Mr. Fernandez was ordered to appear for a second advisement at 9 a.m. this morning.
Erasmo Fernandez may be the poster child for the growing controversy on bail reform. Records show he was arrested by undercover Denver police with a loaded firearm, wanted on warrants, and he was carrying 20,000 fentanyl pills. In this case, a judge required him to pay only $1,000 in bond money. The result?
Mr. Fernandez has failed to appear.
I'm not going to let
there's
people
more
who
to that. You
want to
know
play
that,
politics,
family, right?
who want to say
There's
I didn't
more
make
to
a
that.
mistake,
Could have
play
been like
games.
he probably
Let's
never
fix
got
it. I
caught
don't want to hear none
ever.
of that stuff. Let's fix
Probably
it.
didn't have any
And that
other
leads
charges.
us to Denver's
Probably has a
district
job.
attorney and her role in
More to
helping
that.
find the fix. We asked Beth McCann to sit in this seat. She declined to answer our questions.
Is it Beth McCann's responsibility to explain to the voters why we're at this point?
A district attorney
Why? Because you should have to tell the
is part
truth.
of the system. And when they see
The
that
truth
the
is-
system is out of whack, they have an obligation to try to straighten things out.
With Denver's current DA declining comment, we went to former Denver DA Mitch Morrissey.
Based on the statistics that you've brought forward, based on the crime rate in this city, based on the number of people that have died, you can't wait a week. This policy needs to be changed now.
When I saw your broadcast, many of the things that Denver is experiencing, Harris County and Houston has been experiencing now for the past few years.
And that takes us to Houston, Texas, where that district attorney recently spent $10,000 to study the impacts of bail reform. What led your district attorney to commission this report?
We wanted the truth to get out to the public about what was going on in reference to bail, crime, and public safety.
David Mitchum directed the study in
And
Houston.
does it all
Like
lead back
Denver's
to the
DA,
police?
Harris County's DA, Kim
the
Ogg, is
government?
also a Democrat, and she also was in favor of bail reform until she watched crime increase significantly in Houston.
On her
What
watch.
we found was that reoffending by criminal defendants who've been released on bail is up substantially.
The Houston study also found an increase of bond failures by criminal defendants
I could
and
argue this
an
in like
increase
4
in
different ways
violent
right now,
offenses
and
committed
it all
by
leads back to
defendants
police,
free on bail.
city
Based
council,
upon what you found,
and just keep following
would you
the
recommend that Denver's DA
and
do
follow
a
it all the
similar
way through.
study?
That's like
Absolutely.
this is something
Absolutely.
they
To get
created.
a grip on the problem, you've got to be able to understand the problem.
Ms. McCann, Tony Kowaleski, you have a moment to talk to us. You know, we've been trying to talk to you about your position on PR bonds. We met Denver's district attorney recently inside the
I'm
state
surprised
capitol.
she
Will you
could
talk
stand
with
up.
us
Maybe
afterwards?
she was all nervous.
Moments later, we continued asking our questions. Ms. McCann, just one quick question. Your counterpart, Houston, conducted, I understand, she conducted a study to see the impact PR bonds was having on crime.
Yes.
Should you do the same thing?
I'd be very much in favor of a study, but we don't have the resources to.
An interesting response considering Houston's study cost just 10 grand and Denver's DA manages a budget of more than $27 million. Ms. McCann, just one more question. Are you at all concerned about the impact PR bonds are having on our community's crime? Justifying why she has not found money for a study like the one in Houston. DA McCann
that would be
said her
forced to admit
office
the
needs
truth.
more attorneys, investigators, and resources to prosecute crime. City sources tell us studying this issue has not been a priority for this DA. Finally, Denver's mayor has asked his team to find solutions. I'm Chief
They don't want to find
Investigative Reporter
solutions.
Tony
You've been,
Kowaleski.
man, we can go in all day about this whole little situation, but you cannot convince me that none of this could have been prevented in any of the decades that I've been alive. They just don't understand. They don't have the money. Of course not. They never have answers.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want to admit that it all is a problem they created. The math doesn't make sense. The answers will never make sense. And they're not gonna be held accountable at this rate. And the hell, man, Mayor Hancock, are you serious? Like, you ain't did shit about this like the whole time you've been in there. Now you're gonna get serious? I mean, you really are arresting a lot of fucking people on the fact of being homeless and with serious issues of staying warm, awake, and aware, with all sorts of problems for reasons for escapism and lack thereof, care, treatment, compassion, resources, services. I mean, you just keep dumping money out there and nothing is actually happening. That's why, musical political chairs has been happening. Cold, cruel world. That's what's going on in our city, man. Got a sweep next week in my area that I like to fucking 5 points. I'm gonna go check that out. Really want to get down there. Let's pray. Let's pray, Valley. That I'll actually run into a service provider. Because word on the street is, not happening. I mean, not happening. I've actively been in the streets all week, talking to people all week long. And it's stupid what they're doing out there. Real stupid. And it is very bare. Like, if I cruise through right now, there's very limited encampments. You see what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I can go cruise right now and really show you that it's not what the city is talking about. And yet, no one is really getting housed either. Where are they all going?
Right.
Seduction Doll Investigates. Real shit. So something suspect going on around out there. Yeah. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching. We got a lot going on with everything. So stay tuned. Tune in for Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced on Tuesdays on Blog Talk. Probably do a show in between here and there. Just been it's like stupid busy. This last week and a half. It's been ridiculous. Obviously support Jesse any way can, morally, whatever. He'll take care of that for a second. Watch the Revolutionary Agenda. I should be doing a show here soon, like either later tonight or tomorrow. I just gotta get myself together. I'm not feeling well right now. I've been really going through some major questioning moments about the way the world is looking right now and being effective in all aspects, because there's a lot of cooning going on. Epic proportions. It's kind of weird. Not really, but bad luck. So I got lots of questions and lots of why. So yeah, stay tuned for that. You'll see it go up and it'll be worth it. I always bring you something interesting to salivate on when it comes to the system of racism, white supremacy, and what's going on in the world. And yeah, that's about it right now. Working on the official campaign website. It's actually looking pretty good. It's just been stupid busy to actually just get the little final touches on it. Hopefully that'll clear up this week. And a shout out to the Anchorman and everybody who watches the program. Thank you. Like it, share it. Either way, thanks. And I'll talk to you guys soon on next Saturday on Front Line Blacc News.
Yeah, so thank you for tuning out. Thank you for tuning into episode season 2, episode 6 of the Front Line Blacc News. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. In the meantime, make sure you check us out on Tuesdays for Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced. And also you check us out on Thursdays for the Revolutionary Agenda.
Yeah.
Lady Chase should be going live sometime this week.
Yeah.
This coming week.
Mm-hmm.
And peace, love, light, and Black empowerment. We'll catch you next week.
Yep.
Peace.
Peace.